always look at rent control as a politician's way of selling hope. They tell people, oh, this will help make it better for you. New York has it, San Francisco has it. Has it solved their problems? No way.
The mayor of Boston wants rent control within the city, but landlords were given the opportunity to put public comment on why they think that's a horrible idea. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over this whole push for more rent control laws. Now, obviously, rent control is bad. We all know it's bad. All landlords think that it is, just the worst thing possible that can happen to us because it's a government price control over a product, right? And the only thing that's going to do is make it more costly in the long run because it's going to create a housing shortage. Okay, rent control doesn't work anywhere that it's implemented. And the people who don't claim that it works, they're the ones who got lucky and they essentially were able to get in and then live for who knows how long under cheap rents. Now, the people who are looking for housing in the future, they're not going to be very happy because they're not going to be able to find it, okay? And developers, we're going to stop building, okay? Developers are going to stop building. Landlords are going to stop wanting to rent their properties out. And there's going to be less housing available for the people who need it. That's going to cause prices to increase for any property that's not under rent control. Okay, it's a bad deal. It has always been a bad deal. And you know what? They never learn the lessons that are obvious. I mean, they write about how bad rent control is overall, yet they think, well, this is going to be different this time. No, it's not. Okay, it's never different. It's always bad. So they actually gave landlords and citizens, the public, the opportunity to put comments in on these proposed rent control laws within Boston, right? And that's what this article I'm going to be going over today is all about. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? What do you think? Do you think that they're actually going to pass this rent control law up in Boston? I think they're going to try, and it's going to be a very difficult thing to not get passed, okay? So landlords have an uphill battle fighting this. So obviously, Massachusetts is a very far left-leaning state, very progressive state, and they are basically pushing for a very progressive left-leaning law. So it seems like a no-brainer to a lot of the people there that this sort of thing is going to get passed. However, back in the 90s, the legislator, the politicians there, they saw what was coming and they actually put a law into place that banned rent control within the entire state. Now, I'm surprised about this, but you know what? That's a good thing. It's a good thing, and it's another step that they're going to have to get past in order to, impose these horrible conditions on the landlords. And you know what? It might be possible for them to drag it out a little bit longer before they have to face this, but I do think it's coming, okay? So the landlords up there need to get prepared because this sort of thing will eventually come. It might not be this year. It might not be next year, but it's going to be maybe 5 years down the line, and all of a sudden, the public sentiment's going to be, oh, we need rent control. This happens all the time, right? That's why I say we have to fight. We have to fight, and a lot of people, they don't like to think about the fact that, hey, I'm investing in an area where property rights are at risk, but they are, okay? So anyway, let's get into the article. This article is coming from WGBH.org, and it says, Public comments show deep divide on rent control in Boston. Let's get into it. A GBH News review of public comments solicited by Boston City Hall shows a near split between those who favor reinstating rent control and those who oppose it. Rent control was outlawed by a statewide referendum in 1994, but Mayor Michelle Wu is preparing to ask state lawmakers to revise the law and allow cities to create their own policies. Such a change would need approval first from the Boston City Council, then from both the state legislator and Governor Maura Healey. Wu has long advocated an option known as rent stabilization. That term is often used interchangeably with rent control. But advocates suggest that while rent control freezes rents in place, rent stabilization allows limited increases and in some cases, like in New York and California, can be tied to various economic conditions like insurance rates, water and sewer rates, and the regional consumer price index. Yeah, don't let those advocates fool anyone, okay? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Rent stabilization is just a fancy term to confuse people because they don't want to call it rent control because rent control has such a negative connotation, okay? Rent stabilization is rent control, period. It's a government price control over the cost of rent. And simply put, it has the exact same effects. The exact same. Now, oh, we'll make an exception, if utilities go up or insurance rates. You notice that they don't say anything about the local property tax rate when they mention, hey, we're going to let you raise rates. They don't say anything about the interest rates on loans. No, they don't say anything. You know what? How much inflation in terms of maintenance or capital expenditures? They don't mention any of that stuff because a landlord's costs are very, very individualized. For me to do maintenance as an individual landlord, a small landlord, is going to be a different price from a large landlord who might have service contracts, might have their own crew of handymen or repairmen to do stuff. So it might be much cheaper for a large landlord with 1,000 units to get something repaired versus me because I have to call contractors individually. Or it might be the other way around. It might be cheaper for me as the individual because I'm able to, not get the most expensive person to do a repair and instead get a much cheaper contractor, okay? But either way, there's no way that government can make a decision on how much your costs are going to be. There's no way, okay? They're like, oh, well, we can judge how much insurance costs have risen. Well, that's great. In general, insurance costs have risen 3% this year. Well, that's wonderful in general, right? But my insurance company rose my costs 15% this year. You see what I mean? They don't even think about the fact that everything is so individualized. That is the reason why some landlords raise their rents more than others. Okay? WU convened an advisory committee to study housing affordability 10 months ago. It is yet to issue any recommendations, but at the heart of WU's initiative is a local option that would revive the city's ability to cap rent increases with the aim of preventing renter displacement, a theme that's almost certain to come up next week as WU gives her first State of the City address. Through a public records request, GBH News obtained the nearly 1,220 public remarks given to the WU administration last year as the Rent Stabilization Advisory Committee met and held listening sessions between March and September. The comments were submitted through email, virtual listening sessions, and now closed digital form. So yeah, they've got a lot of public comments through, just electronic means. So, this gave opportunities for everyone to put their comments in. And they got some pretty good comments from landlords. Now, this mayor, recently elected, I did an article about how this mayor, one of her campaign promises when she was being elected was to get rent control implemented. So she's not going to give this up the whole time she's in office. She thinks this is the thing that she got elected for, right? So, I don't know if it's possible, though. We'll see what the rest, because, the state government, they have to pass this throughout the entire state that will give them the local jurisdiction to do this. And I don't know if there is an appetite for that throughout the entire state or not. I don't even know if there's an appetite for it within the city, because this will really, really hurt large landlords and small landlords alike. And those are the people who are investing in the city right now. They're the ones putting the millions of dollars into projects. But anyway, I'm going to skip down a little bit and get right into some of the comments by landlords, because they really did a good job of just letting them know that, hey, this isn't going to work, okay? Dozens of landlords argued a rent stabilization policy would unfairly limit the amounts they might charge tenants. Rent control, and this is a quote from a landlord, rent control is a form of slavery where a landlord works and does not get paid, said Stuart T. Schreier, a Dorchester real estate attorney and landlord. If I sweep the stairs or shovel the snow, I am entitled to be paid. When I work overnight and paint an apartment, I am entitled to be paid. Olivia Chambers, another landlord and vocal opponent of rent control, commented, If I want Mayor Wu to decide my income, I'll get a job at City Hall. Chambers indicated plans to hike rent for her lowest unit from $1,850 to $2,100 in 2022 over fear of the policy. I'll be sure to let the tenants know to thank the city for it, Chambers said. If the increases are going to be capped, I'm going to make sure I'm at the top of the market by the time this mistake goes into effect. So yeah, landlords are saying, hey, you know what? We feel like we are not being compensated for the work that we're putting into our property because the government is regulating how much we can charge for rent. And I agree with that, okay? Simply put, like I said, landlords deserve to be compensated justly for the investments that they make. You know, we're talking about a place that's very expensive. It's millions of dollars we're talking about. You're spending millions of dollars to buy a property. You're spending, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on maintenance and upkeep every single year, right? And those prices increase with inflation. Sometimes the inflation for landlords is higher than the cost, of inflation in general because, who knows what the costs are going to be in the future. All I know is that prices continue to go up, okay? Prices of everything continues to go up, and we should be able to increase our rents to be able to cover those costs and be able to charge enough so that we make a good profit. This is our business. This is our life, and I don't want the mayor or the city hall or anyone else deciding what my income is going to be. I decide what my income is going to be when I'm operating my business. So I agree with what these landlords are saying, and you can read the rest of this article, and they've got some comments from tenants and pro-tenant people. I'm not going to waste my time with that here because I'm sure you've heard it all, and I'm sick of it.